What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at Data Dash, and today is October 29th of 2019. Well, folks, I hope you all are having a fantastic day wherever you are. And in today's update, we're going to dive into a lot of different things. So obviously, be taking a look over the crazy price action we've seen in cryptocurrency markets, but also dive into some news pieces for both crypto and traditional markets. As you can probably tell, I'm still traveling in Las Vegas. I've got a lot of conferences I've been attending. I've met a ton of great people and projects, and I'll be talking about that as I probably get back home on the East Coast. But before we dive into the update, guys, I want to let you all know this video is sponsored by eToro. Now, for those of you who may not know, eToro is a social trading platform, and it allows you to not only get exposure to some of the high-tier cryptocurrencies available on the market, all from within the platform, but also basket portfolios that give you a diverse range of exposure to the cryptocurrency space. Again, all coming from within the eToro platform. And for those of you who want to socialize with other traders and learn from the strategies of others in the market, you can actually engage with other traders on the platform and actually view their portfolios real time. So if you guys would like to get started, you can create a $100,000 virtual portfolio and start trading on eToro today. Now, I want to let you all know as well, in taking a look at the market, we have got a generally neutral trend for the most part. All right, we can see a few players to the upside, a few players that are a little more severe to the downside. But right now, generally speaking, for the cryptocurrency market at the moment, we're seeing plays between 1% to 2% to the upside or downside. So no serious trend after all the craziness we've had over the last week. Now, diving into that craziness, right, we can see here on the yearly chart, we made a pretty big bump in the market. But I think just to kind of zoom in here, I think we can really start to see how much market capitalization changed off this move on Bitcoin. And again, people are going to debate what really caused this, guys. I'm not in the business of doing that. I'm more of trying to take in what's happened in the market. Again, some people say it's manipulation. Some people say it is justifiable price action from all the excitement in China. Maybe it was a massive short squeeze, and now people feel there's not a bottoming opportunity anymore. Meaning that we've already reached that bottom in the market and buyers are starting to come in. Whatever. The major thing I want to take away is the scale of the leap to understand if we've got a trend shift, and also if we've got a trend shift, where are our next targets, right? And we'll talk about all of that throughout this update. All right. So to take it in perspective, we pretty much saw across the board a 25% move in cryptocurrency markets, right? Across the board here. And that was mainly due to Bitcoin, right? But we can see here that in this short period of time, right, we pretty much added nearly $60 billion in market cap and have neutralized kind of around $250 billion. So again, a 25% leap in a matter of a few days, right? And really, I think the short-term move, less than 24 hours. So it's pretty incredible, guys. Other coins as well, our altcoins are doing quite well here, sitting around 81 billion, obviously not outpacing Bitcoin over the last week. We saw a pretty big leap in Bitcoin dominance of over 3% here for Bitcoin, but we are starting to see it tailor back down, and it's a question of whether or not that momentum will continue. And we'll talk about that as we go throughout the video. It's going to be a lot of talk on price action today, but we will have some news pieces to discuss. All right, so let's first off talk about Bitcoin. Obviously, this is going to be really kind of a make or break whether or not markets continue to move over the next few weeks to the upside or they start to falter back down to the downside. Well, when we last talked a few days ago, this is pretty much all the price action we had to work with up to October 26th, right? And that was basically with a very, very tall wicks here. And, still an up move on price, a big up move, about $500. But because of that very tall wicks from the rally towards 10,500, which in the span of a matter of a few minutes really happened, it was a very short period of time. I was worried that the candle would have a very tall wicks here and that we wouldn't have any price action recouped over the next day or so. Well, we did continue that upward movement. And I got to say to the bulls, this is probably one of the best things we could have hoped for, right? And that is what we saw here on the weekly candle, where the vast majority of the candle here is a massive open to close gain in this case, right? From, as we can see here, at the base of the candle to the top of the candle. And the wickses are relatively even here. This is a great candle pattern. It would have been better if we would have held towards the top. It would even be more kind of like sensational, or I think get people even more excited in this case and possibly FOMOing even higher if you basically had the candle right towards the top here. But either way, this looks good on the chart. It looks completely natural with previous candles we've seen in Bitcoin's price action in the past, right? This isn't something that's foreign, right? So that's really good to see here. And it makes it look like we're not going to be coming down to 6,000 like so many people were confident was going to happen. Now, I'm not 100% set on the absolute trend changing just yet, right? We still haven't gotten all three indicators here signaling that, right? We're still waiting for the MACD cross. The divergence is declining. We're still waiting for the squeeze momentum indicator to set a higher week. We still haven't gotten it, but it's getting closer. And we do have the stochastic RSI getting very close here with one of the lines and almost the orange line coming in here to the neutral zone. And that's what we're looking for. We want to see at least 2 out of 3 of these indicators to really signal that. Now, as I mentioned to you all, I already started averaging in here, right, down at 40 to 45%, right? And I started even earlier, around 30%. But pretty much on all those positions, I'm up now, right? And that's the important lesson. I just want to, I don't want to tell you guys what to do, but if you want my perspective on things, buy into the fear. No matter if this is manipulation of some sort of price. I have no doubt, guys, as I talked about in the previous episode, when the vast majority of liquidity is on margin trading or derivatives platforms, yeah, you're going to have some wonky price action. You're going to have these ridiculous short squeezes. You're going to have these crazy movements that we see in markets. But if you're going to trade crypto, if you're going to try to play against the market here, not just simply average in on dips, you need to factor those in, right? You need to factor those elements in. And you need to accept that when they come through, it's going to put price where it is now, right? This wasn't just some little minor fluke. The vast majority of price action is materialized, and traders on both sides are pricing Bitcoin around this range. So that's the key thing to take away. I just want to push that across because I know some people will say, oh, I didn't average in, and this is just manipulation. Don't sit there and get caught up in just because you didn't get in at that specific price, right? I mean, that's just my point, guys. I don't mean to be rude in any sense by saying that. I just want to help, teach you guys in any way that I can on how to prepare in these markets, right? Now, in the short term here, what I'm really interested in is we can see here a general kind of wedge might be forming here on the hourly, right? I've been watching this over the last day or so. You can see here that the kind of price action here has been kind of coiling in. It's not a perfect wedge. Lows haven't lined up exactly. I mean, you could adjust your trend line and stuff like that. But usually for this kind of breakout, I usually would keep it down here with the previous base. Long story short, the general idea here would be to watch if price continues higher above this line. Maybe you can get past one of these previous semi-lows here as we started to enter in towards this kind of wedge pattern, right? Or if we break down past a key level like here, around 9,100, where price found support, or down here, around 9,000, right? So that's the kind of stuff you look for. Now, we talked here on the short-term time frame, and we also talked about on the weekly time frame. Again, weekly time frame looking good. I want to see 2 out of 3 indicators come here into check. That's going to signal a trend reversal, and that's going to be dependent on whether or not this is a green week, most likely. Seeing how close these indicators are towards proving that we're getting a momentum shift here to the upside, I think that's all we're going to really need to get. And that could be us having a close right up at the previous highs around 10,500 or maybe even just 10,000, right? Either way, crazy, awesome week for crypto. Let's go ahead and to be fair here, guys, right? In the sense of, where we've been really putting our focus, which is in altcoins at the moment, we obviously have seen a big shift. We saw a big shift over these 2 days where Bitcoin dominance obviously just crushed the market, right? We saw a huge gain in Bitcoin dominance. And now the question here is whether or not that's going to hold. And I got to say, over these last few days, it looks like we're not going to see that continuation of Bitcoin dominance, at least from what I can see here on the daily, right? The MACD divergence slowing down, squeeze momentum indicator didn't really rise that much as to what we've seen in these previous rallies, right? Very small bump here that looks like it's kind of ready to roll over. Stochastic RSI looks wonky here. Looks like it might be topping out. We're not seeing the ride to the absolute peak here and holding out for multiple days, like we're shifting into another trend. This seems like it was a shock response for Bitcoin. So, and not to mention, as we all know, it tends to be that when Bitcoin makes these moves, the liquidity flows down to the mid-cap coins and the small-cap coins, basically in the altcoin space, right? So I think that we're going to see a continued rollover here. And we can kind of see that in some of our plays, right? Go ahead. And I also want to talk about some of the Chinese plays as well, because I do have a slight interest in some of them. But you can see here Chainlink making support where it was back a few days ago compared to Bitcoin on October 16th. Yeah, not detrimental. It stinks because we were up a pretty good amount in compared to Bitcoin. But again, in this case, I'm willing to hold this out. I think if it holds at this range, I'm not too fearful on things, and I'll continue to average in because on Bitcoin comparative, I think it's cheap here, right? And it's making support at a previous resistance range over here, right? All right, and on the weekly as well, the trend is still in play. I want to be fair here and look across the board here and just be fair, right? Squeeze momentum indicator. MACD, I want to see this divergence growing to the upside, and I want to see the stochastic pickup, okay? Raven coin, looking really good at this range here, price-wise. I got to say, because of the Bitcoin rally, the Bitcoin dominance dropped down to this range here in the low 200s. I definitely would consider picking up here. I think they've got some announcement coming soon. Saw some of the founders of the project were tweeting about that. And then third one we want to look at is basic attention token. All right, we'll take a look here on Binance. And of course, making support right in between a key resistance and support range. This was at 2200 sats. Resistance range was at 2400. You find this a lot where we make support in between those key levels, right? Between 26, 2200, which would be 2400, right? So this is good to see here, right? I just want to see it hold this support range, continuing to set generally higher lows for the most part. And again, holding on the trend here, seeing that buyers are coming in and finding value in these plays. Now, last bit of price action we're going to take a look at is some of these Chinese projects. Obviously, NEO, which we've been keeping an eye on for a very long time, right? Now, NEO, I don't mean to just kind of pin it as a Chinese project. There's obviously a global presence for NEO. I know a lot of the NEO team, a lot of great people. The thing is, though, for these kind of projects, we did see some pretty decent liquidity coming in. Now, was this Chinese buyers? I wouldn't go that far, guys. Maybe, right? There's obviously Chinese buyers. They're not buying in China. If they're doing it in China, they're doing it OTC, off the grid. And they're usually, in most cases, if they're trading spot exchanges like they used to through BTC China and all these major exchanges that used to dominate liquidity, it's through Korea, it's through Japan, it's through other conduits in Asia, Hong Kong as well. So they're finding different avenues to do that. Now, in the sense of where I really see NEO going comparative in Bitcoin, right? Where do I see this going over the next day? If we close below this range here, this previous low, I think we're going to continue to go downward, and we're going to make support on a previous resistance range. I'll go ahead. We had it on the daily. I don't know why the hourly is not loading very well. I think we'd see probably it come down to this range here at around 100,000 sats. So that's where I'd look to possibly add on NEO. It's just a little bit overextended, I think, as most of these projects are, because there was a sense of FOMO. Outside of that, though, I mean, there's like Tron and a few other plays. This is really the one that looks exciting to me because I know that NEO is actually building out a developer ecosystem. I know the fundamentals are in check, and I think that with the kind of like technologies that have been built on NEO in this case, I think there's better wallets, there's better DEXs. I think there's an actual potential here for NEO to maybe come back out of the ashes and really shine as a project. I know that there's been a lot of interesting developer work there. And we've been following NEO for a very long time, so it's amazing to see the project still around and still doing great, and having not just a presence in Shanghai and their headquarters, but also a global presence as well. All right, so let's go ahead here. We'll talk about some key news pieces here. So the peer-to-peer crypto exchange Paxful, which is very similar to maybe the likes of those that you might be familiar with, like I'm trying to think of the names right now. Local Bitcoins, things of that sort, where you're actually doing things peer-to-peer, and there's different ways of privately exchanging it. They have seen a 2,800% increase in South Africa on their exchange platform. And as you all know, South Africa has been going through a currency crisis. There's been a lot of issues within the financial sector, within the rate of which the amount of dollars you can purchase and other worldwide reserve currencies with the South African rand, which is the national currency. And this obviously is going to correlate with people wanting to exchange, all these different avenues, from cash to gift cards to all kinds of different things for crypto, for some hedging, some exposure here to an asset that can protect them from that inflation, right? And this is not just in South Africa. They've actually seen year over year, in this case in October, a 64% increase in the sense of overall volume in the African continent. So this is really exciting. It's really exciting to see. I mean, 64% year over year growth. I think this is really telling, guys. And it's a matter of really just building better avenues and building other ways where we can connect, whether physical branch, kind of stores, or through new digital communicative ways and methods that we can actually start building these decentralized markets. And I think this is extremely exciting, right? So again, really exciting news here. Here's the actual report. If you guys want to look at it, Pax will put it out on their blog. But another big piece of news in the sense of more of an institutional side of crypto. So Avalon, which is a major Bitcoin miner producer, is actually looking to file a $400 million US IPO. And if they actually go through with this, this is a pretty interesting proposition. This is the third time they've attempted to do this IPO. If they actually launch in US markets, this will probably go off like wildfire, because this is going to be probably one of the first actual equities that everyone can trade in U.S. markets. Pretty much anyone can trade. And it will be tied directly towards the performance of optimism towards Bitcoin, optimism towards cryptocurrencies, people getting into the market. This will be pretty big if they do launch in U.S. markets. And we'll have to keep a close eye on this, right? So again, another important news piece to keep in mind. And last bit of news here, talking about traditional markets, Goldman Sachs states that the largest outflows out of stocks to cash and bonds as well has been the biggest since 2008. So we have seen a massive outflow of equities into protective fixed income assets as well as cash. So right now, it really seems that either cash is king or we're looking towards fixed income markets like bonds, right? And funny enough, this is right at the time, just back about a year ago, you guys might remember the major pension fund managers decided to circulate everyone out of fixed income markets and put them into equities. And again, they might be up on it. To be fair, most of those trades are up. I feel like they generally switched everyone out of these fixed income markets into equities towards the peak. On paper, they're up. Let's see how they actually perform over the next few years while they're still holding those equities. And we already know the only net inflow of equities over the last few years has been corporate purchases. You can see it right here, guys. Let's go ahead and take a look at all the inflows into equities. Foreign investors, net $50 billion. It's pretty impressive. Foreign buyers are very prominent to basically, or very likely to invest in U.S. markets because other markets right now have been underperforming, and there hasn't been the magical insider secret that's been propping up markets in other foreign economies. And we'll get to that in just a moment because you probably know what it is. Outside of that, we've got households as well, putting in $30 billion. Finally, getting some money in markets. The bottom half of America owns less than 1% of equities, about 0.5% equities or assets overall. So maybe they're getting a little bit more of a portion this time. And we also have as well the purchase of exchange-traded funds, which is the net $150 billion, with an outflow in this case, or sorry, less than the 5-year average in this case of $220 billion. Right? And we've been seeing a lot of people going in ETFs, getting out of mutual funds. Now, what has been the real booster? Well, it's the first point here. It's even down 2% from last year, and that is the inflow into U.S. equities from stock buybacks. $470 billion of liquid cash off the balance sheets of companies has gone into equities. So, this is, again, the major point here that I want to explain, guys, is take a look at what institutions are doing right now. All right. Insiders are selling at record levels not seen since 2008. And that is going to probably continue to pick up. So follow the insiders here. See what they're doing. I'm not saying you have to do anything specifically with your investment strategy, guys. But it's the reason I've steered clear of equities. And I've done much better, again, focusing on other markets from crypto to commodities, right? That's my ballpark right now. That's the trend shift. So anyways, I hope you all are doing well. I'm definitely keeping busy while I'm here, guys. I'm sorry I haven't been able to produce as much content. I appreciate your guys' patience, as always. It means a lot to me. And I've got a lot of exciting things to talk about when I get back home. There's a lot of exciting things going on in the crypto space. I'm excited for World CryptoCon coming up. I think that's going to be a massive conference. So we've got lots of things to look forward to. Outside of that all, guys, thank you all so much for watching. If you guys like the video, drop a like. And until the next one, I'll see you all in the next video. Stay tuned.